everyone. Hello, my beautiful, ever-blooming lavender buds. Welcome back. Lavender's back. So, welcome back to you. Welcome back to me. A sweet, warm embrace to you all. As you guys know, I have been on a little hiatus away from social media. I just disconnected from anything that had to do with social media. So I'm back now, and we are going live with the Kindred Creatrix. And I felt like that's my sister. So, I mean, from like years and years ago, and she's like my soul sister, okay? And I couldn't think of anyone better than the Kindred Creatrix to welcome back the warmth and energy for you guys. And as these shifts are happening with the eclipses, we're like dead smack in the middle of these eclipses. The total, was it lunar eclipse, just happened in Sagittarius. Now we have another one coming in Gemini, and it's a solar new moon eclipse in Gemini. And if that's how you even say it, I guess, because it is a new moon in Gemini. But it's a solar eclipse, so it's going to be like not a total eclipse, but you're going to be able to see like the ring around. Anywho, we're in the middle of Mercury retrograde. Everybody gets crazy with it, but this Mercury retrograde is in Gemini. And Gemini deals with the mind, communication, siblings, things of that sort. I know that I had how can I say? I went back to my past in a way that I didn't realize was possible. And it was amazing. I decided to just cut off social media, stop distracting myself. I occupied myself with preparing my parents to retire in Florida. I helped them out there when, my mom she's purchasing her first home with my dad. And, I was able to see my sister, who I hadn't seen in a long time, my brother-in-law, who I hadn't seen in a long time, my cousin, who I hadn't seen since I was 17 when I used to live in PR, an old friend that I hadn't seen since I was 14, my brother, who I hadn't seen in like 3 years. So all these reunions were happening, and they were happening in a very emotional way. Even though Gemini isn't an emotional sign, it was happening, also with the lunar eclipse. It was like a release of emotion. I was being taken back to like, back in the day and things like that. And when the Kindred Creatrix comes on, she's gonna, I probably explain, how her, how can I say, like how her Mercury retrograde is going, how her eclipse was going, because I think for a lot of us, for the vast majority of us, we've been taken back to the things of the mind, the things of the way we used to think and how we don't think anymore, and the growth that has happened since then. And I just think it was a beautiful thing to have the shift happen the way that it did, at least for me, Now, oh, here she goes. She's coming in. Okay. Oh, where'd she go? I just saw her. Okay. Call in, honey. Call in. Try again. But yeah, so the whole shifting of the, with everything. Here we go. Invites. Okay. You sent your invite. Okay. Here's a speaker now. Good. Hello.
Evening to you.
Good evening to you. How you doing, honey?
I am here.
Yes.
I'm here. I'm present here in this moment.
Yes. As am I. I was just talking about the shift, with the whole eclipse and Mercury retrograde and in Gemini, and everything is like in the mind being taken back. And I love how you said, I'm here, I'm now, I'm in the present. And how powerful is that? You know what I mean?
Yes. Because the past couple of weeks has been, since April 19th, it has been the past.
Yes.
I've been stuck in the past, and I've had to relive my childhood through memories, but with the people. And then I've I did this thing where I wanted to be who I was before.
Right.
For like 5 minutes.
Yes.
And I felt so disconnected because even though I wanted to be part again, I wasn't accepted back in the way I thought I would be.
Right.
So then I felt weird. Why am I not, it was an ego moment.
Right.
Like, what's going on? And then I realized I don't belong here. That's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've graduated from this place.
Woo! Yes, yes.
So I took my bow. I said my goodbyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt the finality of that.
Mm.
And as I drove away, I saw my neighborhood differently because I was part of a party that I thought was the only party going on. Lo and behold, 20 steps. If I had walked 20 steps around the corner, there was something I wasn't involved in.
Mm.
And that was that moment where I was like, wait a minute, I don't belong here.
Right.
And it's just been deep. It's been a deep going back. I've restarted old relationships.
Right.
New. They're new.
Right. Like as if you never met them before.
Yes.
Right.
Re-getting to know people and who are they now moments with a lot of people.
Right. See, and I feel like in this time, especially, it's faded, reconnecting with those people and not restarting old relationships, but starting new relationships with those older connections.
Yes.
And getting to know them as new people is important because they are new people just as we are. Like they've had their own growth in their own areas. Sometimes, unfortunately, some of them don't. They still doing the same old thing and the same old block and the same old music with the same old rap blunt. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, just a replay of every single day. They're stuck in that same thing, and that's okay for them. So long as we don't get caught up in the memory of that, of it feeling good for the moment, and then all of a sudden we are in a tidal wave of just pulling ourselves back into that. And it's such a blessing to see that that you've grown, to acknowledge the growth that you've made and to say, I don't belong here.
Because it felt out of body for a moment.
Right.
It really did. Because every kid in my neighborhood is an adult.
Mm.
And all I kept seeing, although they're adults, was the kids.
Mm.
And I didn't see grown-ups. All I saw was kids. And they acted like they used to.
Right.
And it was the same discords that there's always been. The same gossip, the same low vibration.
Right.
And I realized at one point where I just felt like it was all short-circuiting.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to leave. We have to get home. And all I wanted to do was come back. I did not want to be there anymore.
Right.
And I left. And as I left, I looked at the neighborhood and subconsciously I knew I would not be back.
Yeah.
that part of my life was over.
Yes. It's funny that you say that, because it's like, I tried recording this earlier alone, and it was just like a kismet. Like, you needed to be here with me, because I was going to call you, and I was like, I don't want to bother her right now. So let me do this on my own. And it didn't record at all. Like, you couldn't hear anything. And I was like, no, Fanny has to be on here with me. Sorry, Kindred. Sorry, I said your government. But
that's okay.
She's got to be with me, to speak on this, because I know that she's made that major shift. And it was like, I wanted so bad that I didn't want to bother you. But it's so crazy, because it's like, we understood the shift that was happening at the same time, because I myself have shifted. And I was saying in that unrecorded podcast was like, you have to take yourself out of your current situation, out of your mundane, very chaotic, hustle bustle life. Take yourself to where, you can just like be someone else, to come back, to view that where you always take for granted every single day where you are, to view it in a very different perspective, with a very different lens from the outside in. You remove yourself from your everyday life, and you get to see, damn, I've taken this either for granted, or damn, I've got a lot of changes to make. One or the other. Either way, there's a shift.
It's so funny, because it goes even deeper than that for me.
Indeed.
Because going back there, I remembered who I was and how I struggled, even as a teenager, to be part of them.
Right.
And I always felt a certain kind of way about it.
Right.
Like, maybe it should have been different. Maybe I belonged in that neighborhood. And when I had to return 2 years ago, when my neighborhood little brother passed away, and I reconnected with the neighborhood, I felt so much love.
Right.
But now I realized that it wasn't love that I felt, but it was the familiarity of it all.
Right.
It was the feeling that I was little again.
Right.
With grown-ups in the neighborhood who are now older people. And it was feeling like a child that I enjoyed for that time that I was there.
Right.
And reconnecting with people that I hadn't seen in years. And feeling a different, like, part of them. But then we fast forward to April of this year, when I had to return home to be with my parents.
Right.
Because my brother had fallen ill.
Right.
And I went back with the purpose of holding them up. Through whatever happened, I was just going to be there for them. I was just going to be the rock.
Right.
And I was that. But while I was their rock, I entertained my old habits and wants and yearnings, and I was getting attention from the people I wanted to get attention from when I was a teenager and when it mattered.
Right.
And I was getting it now, and I was enjoying it. And my ego was full.
Right.
And it was so full, but that left me empty at the end of the day.
Right.
Because none of that meant anything.
Because ego's so momentary, right? It's so fickle. Mm-hmm. Like it's such a fickle thing, the ego, where you can fulfill your ego's needs for the moment, but when you walk away from those desires,
you're still hungry.
You're still hungry, exactly. It's kind of like, I'm hungry, so let me grab a piece of candy because it tastes good, but your stomach is still empty.
Yes.
So that's kind of likening it to that, but I get that because, I remember as well wanting to, and I had a feel of that as well myself. Like when I went back to Florida, my sister, she's the oldest one. That I went back to go see her, and I've always just wanted it to be like me and her, because she's the oldest from my mom's first marriage, and I'm the oldest from my mom's second marriage. So together, as the eldest children of my mother's marriages, we were holding hands to take care of our parents. And I felt so special and connected to her. And that filled my ego, because it was like, it's just me and my big sis.
Yes.
You know? It's just us. But realizing that it was just momentary, and not to like lessen the connection with her, but like we didn't grow up together, you know? And I think that I was just feeling that for that moment. And it was like, you know, she was a lot older than I was, so she was already out the house.
That was a void you needed to fill.
Exactly.
That was an inner child healing.
Yeah.
That was that inner child healing.
Absolutely.
And that's another big part of the energies we've been experiencing.
Yes.
It's been a blanketing of the inner child. It's been a blanketing and cuddling of the inner child.
Yes. That's so true. It's kind of like, you know, you finally get to feel and understand what that child had went through, and re-feel it rather, and understand why that child was feeling that, and get to the bottom of it and say, all right, we're tucking you away now. You know, it's okay to go to sleep. Like, we don't need them anymore. You know what I'm, and it's not to say that their connection is no good. It's to say that those connections serve their purpose.
They serve their purpose.
Yep.
Thank you, universe, for giving me that lesson.
Absolutely.
Now, because now is when I needed it.
Yes.
And at the end, when my brother passed away, it was that same neighborhood that lifted my family.
Wow.
And for that, I am forever grateful. And because it turned into a reunion of our old neighborhood. Wow. My parents saw old friends they haven't seen in over 25 years. So it was really a
reunion.
A reunion of the past. Of the past. And it was nice, and it felt good.
Yeah.
And my parents needed that. But at the end of the day, they're not me. They're not for me at this point in my life. I appreciate all the lessons I got with the visit, and with being there and being with them for a month and a half.
Yes.
It was a life-changing experience for me.
And you're a different person now.
I'm a different person.
Yes.
I'm a different person. I took the lead.
Yeah.
I led my family through this. I said, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this with dignity. We're not throwing ourselves on caskets and acting a fool.
That's right.
Because we've seen it at way too many funerals.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not going to act a fool. We're going to act dignified.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
We're going to have a nice time, and when it's over, it's over.
Right.
And we go back to being different people.
Absolutely.
And that was the last day. Yeah. That was the last day. And it was beautiful. I think it was the most fun day I've had in years. And it's weird to say that, but it was so fun. It was like such a fun moment, because I knew my brother was at peace.
Right.
You know, I knew that he was going to go to a great place after hearing all of the stories and seeing all the love he received from different people.
Yes.
I knew that he was 2 different people, or 3 or 4 or 5. He was a different person to everyone, but he was the same person to everyone.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. He was loved, like, no matter what, no matter who.
Yeah, no matter what, no matter what, whoever he was that day, that's who was loved.
Right.
And there was a lot of tears, and there was a lot of sadness from everyone in the group that was gathered. And then there was a lot of celebration and a lot of drinking. So, you know, either way, we balanced it out.
Right, of course. You know, I mean, and it's expected when you're celebrating a life, you know, yes, you're mourning, but you're also celebrating the life that you had a privilege of knowing, you know?
Yes.
I mean, and I also, like, when I went to Florida, you know, I told myself, yeah, I just want to get my parents there, okay? But I think that, you know, I smacked myself with a reality check and was like, no, you're here because you think this is the last time you're going to see your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And because, you know, my dad isn't well. And I said, I'm going to enjoy this for him.
Exactly.
He needs to see his daughter laughing, and I want to see him laughing. You know,
exactly.
He's in an entirely different state. It's not like, you know, he's here and if something were to happen, I can run over to him. No, now he's 2,400 miles away. And, you know, if I can't hop on a plane, you know, that might have been the last time I had seen my dad, right? So I had to hit myself with, like, yeah, you know, so you need to enjoy this. You can't just sit here sobbing because, you know, you may never see him again. No, you're gonna, like, suck it up and just be like, Dad, let's have a beer. Dad, let's, you know, go for a swim. Let's go for a walk, you know? I think that woke me up, along with reuniting with a lot of people that I hadn't seen in years. And I'm talking about, like, when I was 14, 17, 20s, you know, like, different people. But that woke me up to, like, looking at those people, looking at my dad. He hadn't seen those people in the same amount of time that I hadn't seen those people, and how they viewed him in that particular moment where he just wanted to have a particular conversation with them, and he couldn't. A man of so many words could no longer express himself. And it was watching him really wanting to connect with people and doing it through music in his own way. Because you know Dad and music.
Yes.
And he was so, like, just watching him be so well versed in music. And in other conversations, he couldn't express himself, but in music, he was able to express himself fluidly.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. So I was like, that's a real high vibe thing, how high vibe music is for people and how high vibe music is for my dad, you know? And I enjoyed that. That was a shift for me as well. Like, you know, you came out here because of this, but now you're going to go home and take that memory with you and say, you watched your dad be happy.
Have a good time.
Exactly. Be happy no matter what the circumstance was.
Exactly. My big thing was seeing how learning truly how spirit works in so many weird ways. Because I told you I reconnected with an old friend from my little brother Jay's funeral, who her and I had such a special kismet relationship at that moment of that funeral.
Right.
It was like I saw her at the exact moment I needed to see her for her to give me a message that now, in the present moment, she doesn't remember me and she doesn't remember the message.
Wow, yes. I remember you explaining that to me.
And that showed me that when spirit needs to get a message to you, spirit is going to get the message to you, because it was her message to me at that time that took me to the next level of my own beliefs and practices.
I love that.
It was because of that message that she doesn't remember and that is irrelevant to her. That is, I think, what was the deepest lesson for me.
Yes. Yes.
And learning to feel energy, that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Even bad. It was a cold wind on my neck that would come. Every time someone who had ill intentions would pass me.
You just knew.
A cold wind. And my hairs on my neck would stand up. It was intense. I was like, oh my God, how do I feel this like this? It was a very, very intense time. And then just seeing what low vibration looks like.
Right. Because you've been in the low vibe at a certain point, and now you're just like, you've grown from it, so you can recognize it.
Oh my God. It is super, not only is it recognizable, but it's a feeling that it carries.
Absolutely.
It's a feeling, and it's such a low vibrational feeling. It's a coldness. It's a detachment. It's not a warmth.
Right. Even if their smile of hello is seemingly warm, you don't feel the warmth from that.
No, it's a feeling that you don't get.
Right. Absolutely.
Even if they feign at the moment that they're excited, because people do have a tendency to do that.
Right.
You can feel it.
Absolutely.
You can feel it, and I'm okay with not getting a hug.
Absolutely. Especially like at this level where you're feeling things like that just from being in their presence, you don't want them to touch.
Yes. No. And it was nice because I was really funny about who I was hugging at the funeral. It was like hundreds of people there. And everyone knew me and wanted a hug. And some people I hugged, and other people I would just be like, oh, hey, wave from a distance. I did a lot of waving from a distance because I was like, I don't want to touch you.
Right.
I don't want to touch you.
Because what you got is worse than COVID.
Yes. No, I don't want to touch you. I'm good. Thank you. Because I could have cared less about a COVID. I don't even think I had a mask on the whole time. I told you. That's not part of my story. I told you that at the beginning.
You are protected.
I am totally protected. I said that's not part of my story.
That's right.
So it's been a very big learning experience this whole time.
Yeah. I can see, like, and feel the shift inside of you, like, even just talking to you this entire time through text message, like just understanding your view of things before, during, and after, and how things have changed for you. I can feel like you have shifted as a soul completely,
Yes.
and you're watching your parents go through awakenings of their own, and you're being the leader. Yeah, and you're being the leader, because I feel like, God, source, God, whatever you want to call it, picks and chooses the people that you don't think is going to be picked or chosen to do the big things, to lead through big shifts, to help people through awakenings. It's the underdog that always comes out on top, right? And so I feel like the people that, you see how you say, I always felt like I never fit in, and it bothered me because I've always just tried to. No, you didn't need to fit in with them because you were far above that.
Yes.
And because you were being chosen, because had you fit in, you may have stayed stuck there.
No, yeah, I would have been stuck with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been like forcing a jigsaw puzzle piece into something that just didn't fit, and it would have looked ugly. You know what I'm saying? It would have thrown the whole puzzle off. Nah, let's find the right place for you. And so, Spirit, God, whatever, anybody wants to call it.
It was definitely spirit that led me.
Yeah.
Because it was always something within me when I ran that would say, run.
Yes.
Just run. Why not? Just run. And I would be like, you know what? Yeah, let me run. And I would run and I would take risks.
Mm-hmm.
I would take risks, and they were always led. I always heard something that said, go with this.
Right. And so in that, you can lead, those who are now awakening because you've already gone through it, because you didn't fit in. There was a reason why, because it starts with self. You know what I mean? And
yes.
I understand that, like, just saying it right now, like how deep that is. I watched my mom. My mom, she was always a Christian, and people didn't really like associating with my mom because she was a Christian. She always had like her. She never. How can I say? She never pushed God away and said, "No, I'm going to push God away because I want to hang out with you." No, it was like, you can hang out with me or you don't have to. You know what I mean? I'm still a fun person, right? And so I watched my mother be led that entire week by spirit and how beautifully things had worked out for her. Literally, from the day that the moving company came, it took an hour and a half for them to pack up their entire apartment with the moving company. We literally got on a plane 4 hours later. Everything went smoothly. We were the first ones on the plane because Dad was on a wheelchair, right? The next day, my parents were putting down their down payment. And all because my mom had her faith. And I watched how strong she was. And this is a person that a lot of people they shy away from her because she has her own faith.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched her be so strong and be so led, and how powerful it was just sitting back and watching her go through that entire thing, the underdog, how powerful she was, and how she still tries to lead her family, still tries to lead her family.
I truly understand exactly what you went through, because I saw my mother have to let go,
right,
and surrender, because it was so weird, Mandy, with my mom, because she was so cocky.
Yeah.
When he first went down, and they told her he was brain dead, she was so cocky. She said, "Fanny, they said that about you, and here you are. So God did it for you. I know He's gonna do it for him." My spirit kept saying, that's not the way it works.
Right.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a moment where I had to allow her. I couldn't correct her at that moment.
Right.
I had to allow her to feel all of this. So as the weeks progressed, and the doctor said there's nothing more we can do, and she defiantly said, "He's fine. He's going to make it," because she made it. So I know he's going to make it. And on the final day, when he was an organ donor, they turned off the machines, and he continued to breathe.
Wow.
Still for another 9 days. And she knew he would wake up from there. But it was the last day in the hospital where he was burning up with a fever because his brain was dead, which meant there's no organ, there's no control of your heat, of your temperature, of your body.
So the homeostasis wasn't like controlling his body temperature.
Not at all.
Wow.
So that's how badly his brain was injured. And he was burning up. And my mother literally said, God, I don't want him to hurt anymore.
Mm.
And it was around 7 p.m. when we left the hospital. And she kissed him goodbye. And I kissed him goodbye. And I squeezed his hand. And I knew that that was it. So she went home. I went out to distract myself. And when I got home, I couldn't sleep. And I was like, oh my God, why can't I go to sleep? I felt so sleepy an hour ago, and now I can't go to sleep. So I laid there wide awake. And when the phone rang, it was 6 hours later.
Wow.
Where he surrendered.
Wow.
And it was a moment. It was just a moment where, it was just, I don't even know. It was just an out-of-body experience moment.
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking to myself, oh my God. And I felt so silly because in my head I was talking to myself, saying all this shit.
Right.
I was like, it is all about surrendering. You have to surrender to the will of God. Oh my God. This is like proof. Because once my mother surrendered to God's will, not her will, not her hopes, dreams, and aspirations and fictional nonsense she had in her head, as a hopeful person, it was all about the surrender moment for her.
Exactly.
When she surrendered, my brother let go.
Yes.
Because he was holding on for her.
Yeah. He energetically fought
to stay there for her.
Yeah.
And he was being transferred that morning, that following morning, to hospice.
Wow.
Which would have prolonged this hurt for her.
Right.
And he didn't want that. And that's when I learned we are not in control of shit.
That's right. That's right.
We are not in control of any when
Right. I mean, we have willpower, absolutely.
Yes.
But when it's time, it's time.
Yes.
I mean, we can have the power to make choices. We are absolutely granted with that, the power of will. But those choices come with consequences, reactions, and all of that, and even if you don't make certain choices, at some point, there's going to be a pathway to something where you are eventually going to have to give up and surrender for your life to change in some kind of way.
Yes.
No matter what path you take, it absolutely is about the surrender. I mean, I feel it's beautiful and daunting at the same time.
Yes. Because if you don't surrender on your own, God's going to find a way to make you surrender.
Right. It's going to be taken.
It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's it.
Yep.
And I totally learned that lesson.
Yep.
That's why I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
I literally was led every step of the way. Every moment from April 1st till now was led. Totally led by spirit. Completely. I gave up the reins and I just said, you tell me what to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, when my parents had made the decision to go to Florida, I was angry. I was like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I was angry. I was like, Dad is not in a condition to be away from any of us. And they wanted to go to like somewhere far off where they would be by themselves at first. And I was like, that is the craziest decision ever. You should not do that. And then Mom prayed on it, and she was like, we're going to go by where your sister is. And it lessened my anger because they would be around my family, my sister, and I knew that they're in good hands. But I still felt like, because I can't control the fact that if something happens to Dad, I can't be with him. I was angry for that fact. And then when my mom said, I'm retired now and I already put money down on the moving company and I paid for our plane tickets, I had to surrender to that. And I said, okay, well then I'm going with you. Because I still, in some kind of way, still needed to be in control. Because I was scared. I was fearful. Like, I don't know when I'm going to see my dad again, you know? And then at that point, when I finally saw the happiness and all the tension just melt away. I mean, when I tell you that it went smoothly. But when they hit ground in Florida, it was like they were different people. They were different people. They felt so at ease and they were like, we are home. And I was like, if you're home, then I'm home. Like, I felt that way. And I said, okay. And, you know, there was a little negativity from my dad because my dad he likes to call it like being realistic about certain things. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, well, if this works out. And my mom was like, it's going to work out because God said so. So you hush and you don't worry about it. God got this, right? Literally. Oh, that was when they put the down payment on their home. And they said, if they call us back, if we're approved, literally, we drove out of the complex. 10 minutes later, they called my mom back and was like, you are approved.
Wow.
Literally. And my dad was like, what? Yeah. So when my mom says, God got this, I know it for a fact because I'm putting my complete faith, like this is what's going to happen. She wrote her own story and God helped her along. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I felt so like, I saw the power in that. And I was like, we can all do that. We can all do that by surrendering, like just getting up that control. And I didn't feel sad anymore. You know?
How can you?
I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel like
how could you?
I was so happy for them. You know? Yeah, exactly. Like, how can you? Because it's like such a beautiful moment for them. And I was like, they're being taken care of. And you can see it, like quite literally. They're being taken care of. You know? And it was a beautiful thing. And when I left, I didn't feel like I thought I was going to feel. I cried, you know, when I kissed my dad, but I didn't feel like a dread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, no, you're in good hands. You know?
Exactly.
You're in good hands. You're good. So, I mean.
And you know what? You could have stayed. You could have interrupted your entire life.
Yep.
And stayed. But you know what? It wouldn't have changed the thing.
Absolutely not.
At any time. It won't change anything.
That's right. That's right. But I needed to take that trip as well, you know, not only to reconnect with people and to realize how much of a daddy's girl I was. Mm-hmm. I needed to take that trip because when I came back, I realized how much needed to be changed. Mm-hmm. You know, you came back home and were like, you know, no, this is my home. This is where I needed to be. I don't belong there anymore. When I came back here, I said, no, a lot of things need to change because I was literally a different person in Florida. I felt so beautiful and happy and great and loved. And, you know, I just cherished everything. I cherished the sunshine on my skin. I cherished the freaking breeze. I cherished the water. I cherished everything, the connections that I made, old, new, whatever it was. And when I came back here and I felt like that same old, stale, stagnant energy, I was like, that's got to change. because there is no growth in this. So I saw from a different.
Oh my God! Yes.
You know,
I saw mine the opposite. When I returned home, I was like, oh my God, the stagnant, stale energy in New York. I felt the New York energy was so stagnant and stale, and people had to stay where they lived because the apartments were so expensive.
Yep.
Like, it is just like it is, it was a headache. It was a headache.
And that's why people stay in their same old routines, doing the same old thing, hanging out with the same old people, because they literally, you know, feel like they don't have any other choice, because it's just so difficult to make it in New York if you're not, you know, properly aligned with yourself and, you know, trying to think in a manner of growth. And so this is why I needed to take the step out and say, and I extended my trip. I was supposed to come back on the 28th, or was it the 29th? No, I was supposed to come back the 29th. I came back on the 30th, and my plane was delayed even more than what it was already delayed.
Wow.
So, yes, and I was like, it's all good. It's Mercury retrograde. I'm cool. But things were just happening to a sense where, like, it was like spirit, like, stay. And the flight went good. The flight was great. There was terrible weather on this end, but it was kind of like, yo, this signs happening for you. You know what I mean? And when I got back, it was just like things just got to move in a different direction. You know?
Exactly.
And I've got to make it happen. And that's why, like, we're here talking now as well, because, you know, I'm like, the Lavender Code can't just stay shut. Like, the Lavender Code still has things to do. We still got people to reach. We still have souls to help out. And yes. I was like, nah, this got to happen. Today, I made the decision to be like, we're just, you know, I've already did the IG on Saturday. I reconnected on IG. And then today for the podcast, I decided that today, and I was just like, who better than the Kindred Creatrix, like, to come on with me, because she understands this shift. She understands, you know, what's happening. And I love the fact that, you know, when I disconnected from social media, that you've always been there, but like, yo, props to the people that really connected to me outside of social media. How about that? I got to really feel who was my genuine, like, crew. You understand? Like, who was my genuine tribe? And I received love from people I didn't even expect. I expected, of course. You know what I mean? But, like, people that I don't even know from a hole in the wall. And then there were the people that I did know for many years, connected with them, you know, even face to face and everything. Haven't heard peep. You know, It showed me a lot. And it was needed. And I loved it, because I was like, I did this for myself, not to myself. You know, the disconnections aren't happening to me. They're happening for me. You know, and now here we are. And so we're on a whole different vibe now. We're going to connect to people on a very, you know, loving and different level, and make sure that, you know, people are elevated and that they're elevating themselves in one way or another. And, you know, we'll help out with that. So, you know, I also wanted to talk about, like, how our emotional well-being is also is tied into our physical well-being. And I felt that was another shift that I felt as well. See, here, the stagnant energy and the stress, it literally puts my body in, like, that pain over there, because I didn't have so much, like, of the heaviness on me. I literally felt better, like, physically felt better, you know? And it was like, whoa, our emotional well-being is really tied to our physical well-being.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. You remember, I used to have completely, I used to take medicine completely. It is completely tied. It is all in your mind.
Absolutely.
Completely. There is such a link.
Yep.
Yeah. Once I said I was well, I was well.
Yes.
That was just that. That was it. I decided one day I was well.
Yes.
And instead of telling the corrupted story, I started a new story. Which started with how well I am.
Yes.
Now, I am well. At this moment, at the present, I am great.
That's right.
And once I stopped telling the story, all of the symptoms began to subside.
That's, it's so beautiful how that happens, because our bodies are literally made to heal themselves.
Yes.
And I'm now seeing a holistic chiropractor, and that's the code he lives by. That God made our bodies to heal themselves. And all they need is a good, alignment in your spine and everything, all your nerves, send the signals to where they need to go, so that there is no disease and no pain or whatever, right? And you saying that, that's another thing that is, you have to know, not believe, know that you are well. And like you said, you rewrote your story. You said, I know I'm well. Like, I'm well.
All is well. All is well with me. All the time. All the time. I don't give a damn what's going on.
Because it is. Because it is. Because that's the way that it was intended to be.
Exactly.
It's
a freeing feeling.
It really is. It really is. And depending on the perspective that you have, like, we understand that power lies within our hands and in our mind. The mind and the brain are two different things. The brain is the organ, the mind is what we think, and our conscious or whatever. But it literally, we have to take control of our thoughts. We have to understand that, we are not our illness. We are not our pain. We can heal ourselves. We truly can.
Yes, we can.
Because let's be real. Big Pharma is making money off of us. They're managing our pain. They're not curing it. So
not at all.
Why not just start doing what we got to do to get ourselves better, so we can pay them no mind?
Yes, I do know.
So I feel like that's such a beautiful thing that you did. Just understanding I am well. It's
that's it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a freeing thing, and it's completely tied to our emotional well-being, and our physical well-being are completely tied together. And that's another reason why, like, these shifts are important, because they're allowing us to open our eyes and awaken to different ways of thinking and feeling, and ways of life. And if we can feel on different levels and understand that some things we're not in control of, and we should be grateful that we're not in control of certain things, and that other things we are in control of, we should be grateful for that as well, because we're able to make certain decisions. That alone, those two things alone, the things that we are in control of and the ones we aren't, that those are powerful things to understand, and to just, how do you say, like, overstand the fact that you can be healed just by feeling good. Because emotion is what manifests something, not thinking. Emotion is a powerful thing. Emotions, when
yes, it is.
Yeah, when you feel something, you can basically, like, have everyone around you feel it. When you're, like, emotionally feeling upset or happy, the people around you energetically feel it. It manifests something in the area around you. When you're just thinking something, people don't feel that. It's just a thought. So
See,
when
feelings are your guide.
huh?
Feelings are your guide.
100%.